Ian Trottier here, coming back. We are streaming live at iantrottier.com from Anaheim at the Reopen America Tour, Clay Clark.
Yes.
And this is the second Clay Clark tour that I've been to personally. I have with me Vidar Ligard. And without further ado, I invite you, Vidar, to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Yes, I am actually the son of Thor, and that is true. Founder of SafariMission.org, originally from Norway, so hence the Viking name genealogy there. But we work over in East Africa predominantly. We train leaders on how to come out of the poverty syndrome, the dependency syndrome that plagues so many areas of poverty. And so instead of going into a village or into a community and building a building, we build a people. And we firmly believe that when people have the right mindset, they can build their own institutions, their own buildings. It's, building a country is not in building, it's in building the people of the country. And so we train people on that mindset, training them on how to learning how to fish instead of just giving them fish.
Excellent. And Safari Mission is the name of your company.
Correct. SafariMission.org is the name of the foundation that we have.
And it's based in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, yes.
So how does a Nordic end up in Oklahoma?
Well, most of us, we fly. We don't swim so much anymore, but Tulsa is actually well known around the world for some of the institutions that are there. So I came to Tulsa for training, and so families there in Tulsa. But we work over in East Africa.
How did you come across Clay Clark's movement?
A mutual friend of ours, known about Clay Clark, introduced me to Clay, and we've been working with Clay now for 2 or 3 years.
Let's get into what you do in Africa in a moment. Let's pull back and say, in your view and your understanding of Clay Clark and who he is, why is he putting this event on? Why has he brought this together?
The reason is that there is a truth that needs to be known, but is not sufficiently known. And he understands well that the way to deal with darkness is to turn on the light. The way to deal with lies is to tell the truth, so you just keep on sharing the truth. So that's why he's putting on this event, to share the truth about what America's supposed to be.
In your view, Vidar, what is America supposed to be? Why is it not that way?
Well, America is founded on we the people having certain inalienable rights given to us by God. And today we're seeing government overreach. We're seeing freedom of speech that is no longer there. We're seeing people that are so self-centered and corrupt that we forgot to count the way we learned how to count in kindergarten. All kinds of different issues that need to be dealt with. And it needs to be dealt with on a grassroots level, because no government can build a society that's built on a people that's self-centered. You've got to get the foundation right first, and that's done at the grassroots level. And that's what this event is all about.
Freedom of speech is being infringed upon. Freedom of press is being infringed upon. Censorship by big tech, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. How is it that Americans have allowed this to become what's considered a norm in so many of our communities?
It's a very, history repeats itself, and we're seeing a lot of parallels with the fall of the Roman Empire. The Romans, they built the Roman Empire, and a lot of production went into that, but then people get comfortable, and then you start pursuing your own personal passions. Your selfish interest starts being pursued, and then you're not interested in the common good anymore. We're seeing a lot of this. We've got a microwave mentality, a drive-through mentality, where we want everything for ourselves as quickly as possible. And so over time, when society becomes interested in that, then corruption's going to come in.
It's interesting that you draw a parallel to the fall of the Roman Empire. A lot of the research that I've done proves that so many of the roads, if not all, in a cliche sort of way, lead to Rome. Now, in the past 2,000 years, Rome has been a main constant in a global power over the seas, over countries, and they've done that by basically defining for people what God is. That's my view, and that's how I've interpreted it. The United States is a little bit different because in the United States, unlike Rome, historically and certainly currently, the United States gives a freedom of religion, so an undefinition of God. But even that is being encroached upon in schools, and a denial that perhaps even God exists, or that in God we trust, which was one of, if not the cornerstone, that the United States Constitution and the country that we're currently living in was built upon. What are some comments in regards to what you're seeing unfold in the United States in that regard?
Well, you packed a lot of things into the question there. So I don't know exactly which
way to go with that.
Which portion of that do you want me to answer? I know this, that the Western civilization has been built on Judeo-Christian principles. I don't think any sensible person could argue about that. If you look in America today, you can look at different denominations and you can get into all of that. But it's been Judeo-Christian principles and the Judeo-Christian work ethic that built Europe. Of course, post-World War II, there's some things that have been changing over in Europe as far as, dependency syndrome and handouts and things like that. But it's the same thing that built America. And this is what we work predominantly in Africa with safarimission.org, but it's the same principles. You've got to get that foundation of there is a life giver, there is a God, and people have to learn to live in harmony with the one who created us. You get that foundation straight, and you get the life of God into people, and that deals with the self-centeredness, that deals with the corruption. And from there, you deal with a production mentality, a Judeo-Christian work ethic, if you want to put it like that. And that's how you build society. So we train leaders everywhere we go. We do some in Europe, we do some here in the United States, we do work predominantly in Africa, but it's all about leadership training. You can take a grassroots person, you can take an average person with the right mindset, that person becomes a leader. And that's what we do, and that's what we need here in America too. It's needed everywhere.
You mentioned lies. You mentioned cover up. You may not use that word, but you did use the word lies. What in your view? What are some of these predominant lies that are being covered up? What is? You shine a light on a cockroach, and the cockroach scatters. What's being hidden here from view?
I think one of the things that I see hidden a lot of different places is the mentality that I need somebody else to give me a handout. You see that in Europe, you see it in America, you see it in Africa. And when you have a society that predominantly has a good work ethic, society will survive having a little bit of that. But when that becomes the predominant mindset of a large percentage of your population, you really have a problem. Society is going to crumble. And so that is one of the primary lies, that life is not about me. Life is about me becoming a producer, helping somebody else. That's what a good business is. A good business is going to do a favor for somebody else. Of course, you get paid for that in return. You receive a favor in return. But when everybody has the mindset of what can I do to help my brother, whether that's in business or it's nonprofit, we can get into that discussion. But when you have a society that's always looking out for how to produce something more for the other people around about us, you're going to have a growing and a building society. And that's the lie that needs to be dealt with. That we can't be looking for somebody else to give us a handout. We got to be the ones who are the leaders. We got to be the ones who are the producers of society.
Who's the one encouraging this handout? Is there a organized effort to implement this kind of vision for people that they should be?
There's a lot of different organizations out there that might be working on that. I'm not too concerned about who and what is behind all of it. I'm a firm believer in when you've got a darkness problem, the solution is not trying to figure out where is the darkness coming from. The solution is to turn on the light. And it doesn't matter where the darkness comes from. When you turn on the light, the darkness is going to go out the door. You don't fight darkness with fists. You turn on the light. You don't fight lies with fists. You turn on the truth. You just keep on sharing the truth. You keep on sharing the light, and people will get it.
I want to get into Africa because I know that's one of your focuses right now. But staying in the United States, what got you involved in this effort, Vidar? What got you saying, "Hey, there's a problem, and I've got to speak out against it"?
I think I've always been one that when I see the truth, then I want to share that, and I'm not interested in compromising. And so when I see things going on, then you take it upon yourself to do something and say something.
What did you see that was going on that you weren't right with?
Well, I grew up in Europe, and so I've grown up in a society that's founded on a little bit of a different principle. It's not founded on we the people. It's not founded upon us having certain unalienable rights. It's not founded on, our rights are given to us by a creator. In Europe, you think your rights are given to you by the government, and if the government can give it to you, they can also take it away. So I've seen the differences in how society is built there and how society is built here, and I've come to the conclusion that there's a better way to do it.
What are you doing in Africa? Tell listeners what you're doing in Africa and why you're doing it.
So we work predominantly in East Africa. That would be Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Congo, some in Somalia, some very, very difficult areas. And what we do is we identify people that have leadership potential. We identify people who want to think differently, and we train them on mindset principles. And so we're not there to give them shoes or to give them a meal. If you give somebody a shoe, that shoe's going to wear out in 3 months, and then meanwhile they're going to look for somebody else to give them a coat. While they're looking for somebody else to give them a coat, they're going to look for somebody else to give them a meal. We train them on the mentality that the resources you need are actually right here. You've got the people, and you've got resources in the ground. You've got to work with what is there. But even before we get to that layer, we work on getting people to know Christ, to get the life of God into people. Because as long as you're self-centered, if you train people on production, you're still going to have corruption problems. So you got to deal with some of these underlying Ten Commandment principles, if you will. That has to be the foundation of society. Otherwise, you'll end up with another example like China. There's production going on, but there's so much corruption, it's not a society you want to copy. So that's what we do in Africa. We lay that foundation with people. They're not growing up in a Judeo-Christian society, and so the concept of truth and lying is very different from what we're used to. So we lay that first, get them to know God, so that they know what is right and what is wrong, and then you get a work ethic into them. From there, you can start a church, you can start an enterprise, you can start a business, you can start a private school, you can become a really good government official. There's all kinds of different directions you can go from there, but that mindset has to go into people first. And honestly, that's how we built America. We didn't look for resources coming out of Europe when we built America. We looked what we were
fighting that resource.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Oklahoma today. Oklahoma is a new state, right? It's only 120 years old. That's new on the timeline of history.
You're European, yeah.
Yeah, so when people start settling in Oklahoma, you're not looking for a water drilling rig coming out of New York City to build yourself a well in Oklahoma and just sitting around waiting for somebody to show up. That's not how it works. If you got a shovel and that's all you got, you start to get to digging, and soon enough you'll have a well, and then you got water, and you can start yourself a farm. These are the principles that you really build a society on. And those are the principles that we're working on getting those into Africans through SafariMission.org.
Why Africa?
Well, needs are everywhere, all over the world. You can't cater to every single thing you see. You have to refine your focus, otherwise you're not going to be effective. And we feel like Africa is where God wants us predominantly to work, and so that's why Africa.
Vidar Ligard, some closing comments for listeners that your message resonates with, because you've got a wonderful delivery and you've hit on some real quality foundational points here. What do you want listeners to walk away with?
Well, broadly, I would say this. Get involved in something. Get involved in your PTA if you got kids in school. Get involved in your school board. Get involved in local election issues, whatever the case might be. Find something to be involved with that helps to build society. If you want to look for something specific to do and you're interested in SafariMission.org, and you hop on SafariMission.org website, and there's different ways you can get involved with there, with volunteering, with praying for us, becoming a partner. There's all kinds of different ways like that. It doesn't have to be SafariMission.org, but we want you to get involved in doing something to get the truth into society.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, Vidar Ligard, and he is the director of Safari Mission. It's my pleasure, sir. Thank you for doing wonderful work.
Thank you so much, and thank you for everything you do.